So talking about yoga and breathing techniques, I don't know if there's a template for yoga or for yogis across the board, but what's your approach to it? Is it more biological, spiritual? Is it a blend of both when it comes to breathing techniques? Is it like, do you have like with your clients, is it an approach of like biologically speaking, if you stop and breathe a certain way, your body's gonna, or is it also spiritual, or is it a combination?
I mean, I really like to exist in that space between science and spirituality. The ancients, thousands of years ago, laid out these various traditions. Number of different cultures have a lot of different practices that are made meditative, like yoga asana. I mean, the very first yoga was really meditation using our voice and our breath. And now modern science has proven so much of what the ancients were doing. So I am a serious purveyor of knowledge and am constantly educating myself on especially the breath and how the way that we breathe affects our state of mind.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
We can survive for weeks without food. Our bodies can survive for weeks without food. We can survive for a few days without water, but only a few minutes without our breath. And the ancient yogis called breath prana, life force energy. And if you think about it, when you take your first breath, that's your birthday. That's when we say, your life here on earth has begun. And when we stop breathing, we are no more.
Yep.
And it's amazing how much so pranayama, this word pranayama, yama is to like control or modulate. So this is breath control. And so what they've discovered, they being the scientists, modern science has discovered that when we inhale, that activates our sympathetic nervous system. And it's the exhalation that activates the parasympathetic nervous system. So the sympathetic nervous system, I'm sure you know, is that fight or flight, that defense mechanism. And the parasympathetic nervous system lets us know that it's okay to rest and digest. And so if we intentionally lengthen that exhale, that is going to stimulate the activation of the parasympathetic nervous system and allow us to slow down, because we live in this fast-paced, bite-sized society that doesn't want us to slow down. So I have some yoga teacher friends who say, I just teach Shavasana, that last pose. I just teach the pose at the end. Like they're all trying to get to that place where, and really the whole class is dedicated to that so that we're more in that parasympathetic state. Because how many places do you find on planet Earth where you can walk into a room like a yoga studio and lay down on the ground? Very few, right? Where we can actually consciously try to get into this parasympathetic state. We've got plenty of sympathetic activity all around us, traffic and our boss and deadlines and relationships and lines that, there's all kinds of things that are bombarding us at every moment. So
do you recommend yoga breathing techniques? Is it more of a daily activity, like daily calibrate yourself with daily yoga or breathing activity?
Yeah, personally, I use breath and mantra every day. I can't say that I get into asana. That's like the physical practice, like what you would think of as a yoga studio activity that is more popular in the West. I don't do yoga necessarily every day, but I do leverage the yogic techniques of breathwork and mantra meditation because modern science has proven how beneficial they are. It lowers cortisol, adrenaline in the body. It boosts immunity. It allows us to promote clarity, and coming full circle around to your idea of productivity, we can actually harness these different meditative techniques in order to increase productivity and increase clarity just by leveraging what we know about modulating the breath, or pranayama is what the ancients called it. So yes, these are toolkit items. I call them, aspects of the tenacity toolkit in my coaching that I customize for my clients and allow them to practice and get back with me. How's that working? Okay, we can modify it a little bit this way. Because I know so many different tools, and then we offer them pairings of mantras, because we have 70,000 to 90,000 thoughts every day. And 95% of them are the same exact thoughts as we had the day before. And 80% are negative. And so when we can begin to utilize meditation using the breath to watch what it is that we're saying, this idea of metacognition, thinking about our thinking. Meta means the study of, it's self-referential. So metacognition is thinking about what we're thinking about and begin to watch. It's kind of that idea of mindfulness. But personally, mindfulness never worked for me. Mm-hmm. Instead, if I give myself a breath work or a mantra to kind of roll around between my ears or utilize in my breath, that light focus allows my brain to just kind of keep on going and things tend to settle down somehow. So it doesn't work for everyone. Some people are able to just sit and kind of let the thoughts settle down. For me, I'm so analytical. I prefer some sort of a device, some sort of a tool. How about you? Do you meditate?
No. Actually, I've actually never tried it. And which sounds insane in this world that we live in, and my podcast and the way I carry myself, you would think that I do meditate, but I've actually never actively tried it. I think I've tried watered down versions of it, where it's just stopping and breathing, capturing my thoughts and thinking about things like that. But I don't know if that's effective. I mean, I feel clairvoyant after the fact, but actually meditating or following a meditation, I've never tried it. And that's something that makes me so curious because right now when you said mantra, so mantra, the universal definition of mantra, is it kind of not the same as what you're saying? Because the way you're saying mantra, is it like something you're repeating in your head? Is it like a thought process that you have reoccurring when you're meditating? Is that what you're referring to with mantra?
Yes, all of the above. So we use mantras. You can call them affirmations. You can call them declarations. We use them all the time. We repeat things to ourselves that we learned in childhood or as adolescents. You're never going to be able to do that. Or for girls, there might be a mantra that we say like to ourselves about our place in the world. Like I need to not ask for what maybe we're not saying that directly, but there's something in the back of our heads that we're basically saying to ourselves about our abilities or about our place in the world or what's permissible, what we're allowed to do, how we're allowed to show up. And so by sitting with the body and noticing where the emotions lie, because this is the work that I do with my clients, is we go inside the tissues and try to strip away what the story is telling us about this situation in front of us, and just think about the situation itself and be with the raw sensation in the body and breathe into that and allow it to be, instead of trying to understand it and dissect it, but instead just like see, okay, this is where this exists in my body. It kind of has like a red texture, or it feels like a pounding, or this feels like a weight, or maybe it exists outside of my body. I'm feeling like my heart is not inside of me. My heart is outside. It's a reaching. So we go into like, what is the raw sensation? And some of my clients talk about what it feels like. Some of them just allow me to lead them through it. And so we leverage what we know about the brain and the body in order to move through it in a really systematic way. So it just depends on what a client might come with. I have a power technique that's for strengthening relationships, and every letter in the word power stands for something. And I lead them through a meditation where they kind of go back to an old or week old, 2 week old, most recent situation where they maybe didn't act in their integrity. They stepped outside of what their values might be. And so I allow them to go back into that moment, and then we see ourselves kind of rising up above the situation and pause right before that moment where we didn't act in our integrity. And can you see yourself in your body from outside of your body, oxygenating, intentionally breathing? And what is the outcome that you would prefer to have occurred in this situation? And watch that happening. So we anchor in this experience of choosing and not reacting and going with what the body and brain are habituated to do, which is defend ourselves and get into that defense mode. Or perhaps that turns into an attack mode by being defensive by protecting ourselves. It's seen as an attack, getting onto that kind of drama triangle scenario. So yeah, I work with clients wherever they are and lead them through these various practices that I have that can be really expansive if they're applied regularly.